Hi there, this is Cindy Nolet, and as I said in a previous video, I was introducing myself as a hairdresser of 32 years and loving all the information that I've had come through my chair and how that always standing behind the chair was a role that I loved, but today I want to try something new and sit beside my friend and share some stories that I know that will empower the audience, and I loved learning, so I'm sure that you will too. So today we're starting with Stacey Haluka. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
I want to highlight some of Stacey's, some of her things that she is proud of. She's an entrepreneur. She's an emotional consultant. She's a healer. She's a public speaker and motivator and a public figure. She is an author, and we have here featured with us her book. We're going to talk about her book today. And the title is The Unspoken Truth About Essential Oils. So both of us have used essential oils, and it is big out there in the community. And there are some things that Stacey has learned along the way and has shared with her in her book, and we'll speak about some of those things today. Her website is www.yourinnerpeace.com, and peace is P-I-E-C-E, and her tagline is where shift happens. So we're talking here with Stacey, and Stacey, I'd like for you to tell some things that the audience wants to know, and also we want to talk about your book.
Fantastic. Where would you like me to begin?
I think maybe with the essential oils.
Okay.
The title of your book.
My essential oil journey began in October of 2014, where I had joined one of the big MLM companies, and Cindy was along that journey with me at that time. It was what I had thought was the answer to all of my prayers and dreams of having a holistic answer to be able to help people heal. And I had used essential oils for several years, occasionally here and there. But this had opened up a whole new world for me of what I was being told, that they could be used for so many different things. They could be taken internally every day. They can be used all day long. And it was just so profound for me. And what I was learning through the company and through its reps and my upline, I truly thought it was going to be the answer for my prayers and to be able to help people heal. So that's when my journey began with the essential oils. And my journey wasn't exactly one that most people have had. And by November of 2014, I started getting a rash on my arm, and that started expanding throughout my body. And I had been to several doctors. I couldn't figure out what was happening. I was told by my upline that it was simply a detox reaction. It was a good thing. Your body is just expelling the toxins within your body, that the oils were helping with this, to keep using them and start using the detox formula and the plan that they had through this company to help the body heal. So I kept using them, and I kept using them. I got worse and worse and worse, and it was honestly the most hell I'd been through in my life. My body had swelled up so bad that I could hardly barely move my limbs. I had lost almost 15 pounds in about 2 months' time. Had been to the emergency room a couple of times. Eventually it had moved to my face, where my face had swollen up, and it was actually oozing fluid 24/7. And it was, I felt like someone had locked me in a room with ants and wasps and mosquitoes and just left me there. It was unbearable. My body felt like it was in molten lava. It was so painful, and it was on fire, and I really could not function. It was not a good experience for me. So I eventually had gone to allergy specialists and found out that I was allergic to certain essential oils, ones that I had used before with no problem at all. So it was quite the journey for me, and now I raise awareness, and that was why I ended up writing the book, to what can happen. And unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and the companies will say this as well, that you can't be allergic to essential oils, and that's simply just not true. And I've found that out since, and I've learned a lot since. I've worked with a lot of aromatherapists. I've worked with Robert Tisserand, who's a top safety guy in the U.S. Dr. Robert Pappas wrote the foreword for the book. He's one of the leading essential oil chemists in the United States.
So what did he say about it?
The thing that I have learned from them is definitely you can be allergic to essential oils, and
you were told differently.
We were told differently, yes, that you couldn't be, and that is why I kept using them. If I had thought I was allergic to them, I would have stopped, but I was told, no, that's not possible, because there's no proteins in essential oils. Well, that's just false. So learning that information, and also about sensitization. Sensitization is not something that's commonly known out there, and anybody at any time can become sensitized to essential oils, just like anything else that you use too much of. And I always liken it to, let's say, an alcoholic, somebody who starts drinking alcohol. Nothing happens at first, you know, and it could be years before their liver is damaged. Some people it happens sooner, some people it happens later, but eventually you're causing liver damage to yourself. And the same thing can happen with essential oils. You can cause internal damage to your internal organs. Since then, I've become allergic to so many different things: perfumes, fragrances, essential oils. My health has just not been the same. And it's been it's been about 4 years now since this journey started. So I've had a lot of health issues ever since. And that's why I'm somewhat being a voice of this. And I've been contacted by people from all over the world that the same thing has happened to them. Similar things have happened to them. I've seen children that have had really bad reactions by unknowing mothers who think that they're doing something really good for their child and not putting them on medications. They're using essential oils, which are natural and safe, and children are being harmed. Animals are being harmed. It's unfortunately, I see it becoming an epidemic. And that is why I decided to write the book. And I wanted to write the book not just to tell my story, but to also have an essential oil expert write the book with me who could dispel the myths and provide proper information. So Kayla Fioravanti decided to write the book with me so that there's two sides of it. There's my story to raise awareness and her expertise to provide the reader with some really good information.
Well, it's unfortunate. And I was with you at the beginning, and it's still like a movement of this in-home, take care of yourself, do it naturally movement, and the mothers and everyone just caring for themselves, caring for families, do it inside your house before you go seek professional help. And then the professionals that were the, what do you call them, the aromatherapists, tell us about how their information was steered away from by the company.
Well, I was told to not listen to aromatherapists, to be honest, that their information was outdated and that they weren't using the purest essential oils that this company provided. And that's how I got caught into that belief. I drank the Kool-Aid that I was being told.
Really?
Like, literally. And it's, aromatherapists have to go through a minimum of 500 hours of training before they can even work with somebody, because every body's chemistry is different. Every essential oil chemistry is different. You need to know what you're using for that person. And that is one thing that I guess is a bit of an issue for me, is that these companies are allowing people to go out there blindly with, very little training and only training from the company, and allowing people to provide these oils to people and telling them they can take them internally all day long, that they can use them every day, that they're the cure-all for everything, and that's just simply not true. Essential oils are amazing. I'm not anti-essential oil at all. I'm really not. They've done some really fantastic healing. But even aromatherapists will tell you that essential oils are their last resort, because most of them are herbalists, and they usually turn to something before they use the essential oils, because essential oils are so powerful. So there are other alternatives, and it's not something, oils are not something that should be used every day, all day long. And unfortunately, if they are, something like this could happen to you or your family members, and you would think that it was just, you would not be happy with yourself if you injured your children.
True.
Right? Or your animal, or a friend, or whoever it may be. So that's really my message, is to really, there's a lot of aromatherapy courses out there that are beginner courses that you could take for free, even to delve into the other side of it and not just believe whatever these companies are telling you.
Good point. Now, there's always the fun thing saying, oh, there's an oil for that, there's an oil for that, and that could have been fun if you hadn't been injured, but some of these pictures, those pictures, and it really saddens me, because I actually saw you for real up front in person, and not knowing how to help, like, what could I do? And the guilt, because I was there when we started it together, and so feeling like, I was part of that. And then I know 2 other people that have had the sensitivity to some oils. Nothing like your story. Unfortunately, your story is big, but I think it was a driving point for you to do this. So tell us, how did you get pushed into, putting it out there?
Pushed is a good word, actually. I actually went live, or went public, I guess you could say, on YouTube in July of last year, last summer. So it was July of 2017, to tell my story. It was something I felt like I needed to put out there, just to make people aware. And I had really amazing feedback from that video, and I had a lot of hate from that video, to be honest. And I get it, because if I did not have any of this happen to me, and like I said, I thought these were a miracle cure, I probably wouldn't believe someone else's story either. So I understand where these people are coming from, and the names they called me and everything else, and it hurt me, and I still wasn't in a very good place at the time, and I was still in a lot of pain when I did this, so I will admit it hurt. But now I look back at it and I understand, because I probably wouldn't have listened to anybody who had said that either. However, from that video, I had, as I had just said earlier, people contact me from all over the world saying, oh my gosh, I have something like this too. I've been going through tests. Nobody can figure out what's wrong with me. I have to go see an allergy specialist, and so on. And it really opened up a whole other world for me, in understanding that I wasn't alone, that there were other people that needed to hear this. And, people would come and thank me after, because they found out that it was the oils after they had tested, and so on. So that is what kept me going, is knowing that there are people that are getting help from this. And again, mothers that would contact me that their children were having these rashes and they couldn't figure out why, and they stopped using the oils and the rashes went away. So especially children, their immune system is so susceptible to anything, right? So that is what kind of kept me going. And then I kept hearing, this little voice in my head saying, you have to write a book. And I said, no, you have to write a book. And no. And it just kept coming at me. And I was like, no, I'm done. Like, I did my part. I went public. I had enough backlash from it. Thank you very much. I'm done. I'm not going to do this. And it just was something that just kept coming to me. And I said, fine, I'll write the book, but I'm not writing it just from my story. Because of what had already happened, I didn't want the backlash again. If I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write it with an expert who can provide proper information, who can dispel the myths and give some really good feedback. And I said, I also want some experts, some really big experts to write the book. And the next day in my Facebook group, a woman posted that she was wanting to write her next essential oil book on the myths of essential oils. And I was like, so I contacted her, and that was Kayla, and she decided to work with me. And Kayla has written several books, and she's never co-authored with anybody, but she really felt that my story needed to get out there, so she agreed to co-author with me. And Robert Tisserand and Martin Watt, the safety essential oil experts, agreed to be in the book as well. And then Dr. Robert Pappas agreed to write the foreword. So they all were on board about getting this message out, about getting this story out, and how imperative it is, because it's becoming an epidemic, to get this information out. So that's how the book was birthed.
That's beautiful. Wow, I guess you take one step forward, and then God takes 10 steps towards you. So the next day you had your expert.
Yes.
I've shared your book with people that I know personally, and I have to say that nobody really wants to be the fool. No, I think people would rather live a lie with the untruth than to admit that they may have been fooled. So it's really great that you can be there, because that movement of the essential oils is still really happening. So if you can get in there before the next, crowd gets into like misinformation, and I'm sure that touches on that. So I know you contacted the company, and so what did you ask from them as part of how you wanted to rectify the situation, and how did they respond? Two parts.
Well, initially when I contacted them, it was once I had discovered that it was the oils, and I contacted them going, I need help, please help me. And I asked to speak to the chief medical officer of the company, and I sent them my photographs, and it was several emails as well as several conversations back and forth. And the only advice they could give me was to stop using the oils. And I would ask them, has anybody else had this? They couldn't answer that. Tell me, is there going to be safety training put in place to help people? Are you going to hire aromatherapists to answer people's calls who have these emergency type situations? And I was asking all these questions, and I got nowhere. They wouldn't answer me. They couldn't answer me. I asked to speak to the chief medical officer at least 5 or 6 times, and I was pleading and begging because I needed answers. I needed somebody to help me understand why this was happening to me. What can I do to get better? What is going on? And I never heard a word from him.
Not a word?
Not one word. And every time I would ask, did you send him my photographs? Did you? And they promised me they did, that he was out of town. There was always an excuse, and I never heard a word from him, which was extremely disheartening for me, being at the place that I was at the time, where I was praying to God every night to take me in my sleep. I was in so much pain. And to be ignored was just heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. And I don't know how many other people this has happened to, because where they've called the company and got no help. So that was a real eye-opener for me, and that's where I kind of thought, eventually once I started getting better, it was like, that's why I had to do something, because I did not get any help. So I'm trying to help people understand before they get to that place.
Yeah, awesome. All those babies and animals, and thinking they're doing the right thing. That's an amazing story. I love your recovery. I love your recovery. It was so hard for you, and you suffered in silence, and then to be ignored. It's worse than, I think, being beat up. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but, being ignored by the company that we loved. We loved them. I remember being at pep rallies, and they were saying that, plant therapy is to be stewards of essential oils, and that if someone didn't respect them, that it should be taken away. And they were talking about another company, but turns out, I think, should be talking about themselves. So mean well, but be for the people.
I think that was one of the most disheartening parts as well, because we had done so much research on the company ahead of time, and the way that they posed themselves, not only as a company but as people who cared and who had these big hearts, and it was to me, like I said, it was a dream come true, not just with the oils, but this company, I really wanted to pair with them. I wanted to be a part of them because they portrayed something so angelic. And in the end, it was my biggest pain.
Biggest pain, and to reach out to them and to have nothing being said back. It is hard for people to feel like there is, an extra caution involved. So having said that, skipping forward, you said 2014, 2018, 4 years later, what was your biggest leap after you recovered? After you felt well enough to, I know your book, obviously, your book was huge, still going. You're still in the baby steps of that book. That's amazing. So it's out there, people are reading it, but personally and for your growth, what was it maybe a big leap that happened for you?
I'm not sure if there's really one big leap. It's been a lot of small steps for me, to be honest. Coming from the place where I was, and I was also diagnosed with severe depression and PTSD from this. So it's been a lot of small steps to get where I am now. And am I completely healed? No, I still have spots on my body that have never healed, and so it's still a daily reminder for me. But I'm grateful for where I am now. I'm grateful for those small steps that I have taken, and I've collaborated with some really, really interesting, amazing people in my life who have helped me along the way. And, I've restarted my business, and I'm helping people all the time to heal their lives, to recover from trauma that have happened in their lives. And I probably wouldn't be as far as I am if I hadn't done that for myself. And I took those steps, and I got that help, and I went through the healings and the sessions, and I've done so much along the way to get where I am now so that I can help other people who have suffered traumas in their life. And I do some public speaking engagements, I do some workshops, and I'm just ever evolving and growing right now and following the path and where it's going to lead me next.
Yeah, amazing. You're an amazing public speaker. I had the pleasure of watching some of your videos. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. There's only a couple of videos on there right now.
For now.
But yeah.
We can add that link later with your website. So not to change subjects, but starting forward with now, why I was saying that is we did have our session together. I had some treatments from Stacey, and you did the hypnosis, and you did the neuro-linguistic programming, which was a trip.
A good one.
Mostly I'm always confused, but that day particularly, you really ramped up the confusion, and I have to say it was fun. And so tell me about that.
Tell me about that. That was your experience.
Okay, well, I have my little after our session together, I have something that is no longer a problem in my life. So my little thing is, pickles, because anytime I think something is a little bit big, and she can laugh because it's our inner little secret, but I can say, pickles. And it's just a limiting belief that I had, and now it's kind of a little funny thing, and we can leap over that. But the linguistic confusion was for my subconscious?
Yes. So what we do is we work with your subconscious mind. If you look at your life and what has happened to you, everything that has ever happened to you is programmed into your unconscious mind. Everything you've thought, everything you've said, everything you've done, whether you want to know about it or not, it's in there, and it's programmed in there, and it's always paying attention, right down to the fact that it's stored in your memories, or stored in your cells. The memories are in your cells, right? So the way I like to sort of describe what I do with neuro-linguistic programming is, the game Jenga with the blocks?
Okay. So
the Jenga structure at the beginning is your emotional structure, whole and sound. And every time something happens to you that's kind of icky, someone calls you a name, cuts you off in traffic, it bothers you, it's like taking out a block and stacking it on top. And every time taking out a block and stacking it on top, you have some major thing that happens in your life, a trauma, an incident. It could be removing 5 blocks, 7 blocks, 10 blocks, and piling them on top until your emotional structure is so weak and the top is so heavy it has no choice but to crash down. And that's where breakdowns happen. That's where road rage happens. That's even where murders happen. It's just you've had too much on your plate and been carrying these things for so long that it crashes down. So what I do is help to replace those blocks so we can build your emotional structure strong again. As I said earlier, everything is buried in your subconscious mind. So whether you're acknowledging these things or not that have happened, they have happened and they're still there and they're affecting your emotional body. So what we do with the neuro-linguistic programming is, yes, we confuse your conscious mind a little bit while we work with your subconscious mind to reprogram it so that it no longer has the emotional reaction to those instances. Pickles, for example. So you can once again be clear in your emotional structure and not react. Yes, you will. I'm not erasing your memories. Your memory will still be there, but you will no longer have that huge emotional response to it that you had before.
Or even realizing you've had before.
Correct.
Because you asked me something, and my mind took me to like when I disappointed somebody by busting a jar of pickles, and it was there. So now I guess I can put the giggle block back in, and I'm feeling better. But the hypnosis thing, I think maybe, is that how that got me there?
It's things, again, first, as humans, a lot of times, and this happened in your childhood. So a lot of things that have happened in our childhood, we didn't have the capability to deal with it at that time. Okay? We weren't mentally capable. And sometimes even as adults, we're just not mentally capable to deal with something at that time. So we just put it in the back. And it's just buried and it's there, but we just don't consciously know that it's there until we're able to get the help to bring it forward and to heal it. So even though you didn't think about it consciously all the time, it was still buried there. And when we had gone through the session, that was the first thing that came up to you. Come up for you because it was like, okay, let's heal this. This has really been buried for a long time. I need to let this go and release it. Can we work on this? And a lot of times when that happens, when your unconscious mind realizes that we're now working and healing on something, you may have other things that are going to come up and you're going to say, oh, I forgot about that. I need to work on this now. So it really wants you to be healthy and whole. It really does. And it's going to show you ways to get there.
Because we're sitting here side by side, and because I have my face in front of a camera and not those 32 years of standing behind the person, that was a block for me. And for me to add another chapter to my life and, put myself in the public on purpose and maybe more than one face at a time, that was one of the things I came to you for, because I felt this emotional charge of, I can't do that, or what if? And then you're like, well, what if you didn't do this and you didn't do it right? I'm like, oh my God, I guess what? So I thought, let's do this together. And it is kind of a two-way thing, because I'm getting myself out there, but I really wanted to showcase you and your book. And I really, really love that book and the bravery that it took for you to stand up and still stand up and battle through all of the people that said, no, that's not it. And you're like, there's something going on. So you're able to help all those other people that have gone through that, and then to help them avoid not going through that. And then you're doing all your certifications. You're adding so many more layers to you. Like, you must have more chapters in your book that you can start adding. Maybe not this one in particular, but I just love that you're going through and you're reinventing yourself all of the time. You always have, such a strength to you when you need it. And I hope that you get supported. And that's kind of what I wanted to do today. I wanted to be a person that can kind of support all the great things that you're doing, because so many people don't want to speak for themselves unless they're asked. So thank you for coming today. Is there anything that, that we went by? I know I had my little list. I wanted to talk about your sessions. I want to talk that the hypnosis, and that you took some coaching certificates. You have those on your website, so you want to talk about now. You have a special coaching certificate that you just got from
I have a few certificates. Some I had started, 8 years ago. So I have a few different certifications in different styles of coaching.
Okay.
The one that I recently got within the last year was with the Les Brown Institute as a motivational speaker and life coach with them.
Knowing that this was going to prepare you for your public debut, or how did that all? That was after your.
It was just something
after.
I felt like I wanted to do, and like I said, I just started taking baby steps and following where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing without questioning it, because I needed to, as you just said, reinvent myself. I needed to start my life over again.
That's great. Well, a little bit of humor in here. I'm glad you told your story, because hairdressers are not supposed to talk behind your back and tell your stories. So I'm so glad that you are able to sit here, because I have to hide so many things inside my brain. No wonder there's confusion. Secrets are safe with me, not that there's a secret. But thank you for coming here and sharing, so I can talk about it with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to our next visit.
Beautiful. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.